I have partnered up with Alois to make a brand new Mordekaiser guide, and I would say it is the best Mordekaiser guide out there right now. I have given out every single piece of information that I could think of. Absolutely anything that I use, I gave out in this guide. Explaining mid to late game stages, itemization, runes, combos, absolutely anything and everything I could think of. Even video matchups, and some of these video matchups go on to be 20 minutes or longer, just for that one particular matchup. Currently, there are not all top lane champions in video format, but over time I will add more and more of them. This is also where the tips and tricks section of the matchup spreadsheet went, in case you were all wondering. As part of the agreement, I had to move it to this guide exclusively. Every other guide I have is still completely untouched, and the rest of the spreadsheet on top of the mobafire guide is still also the same on the Mordekaiser side. If you want to check it out, you can use the link in the description. With all that being said, please enjoy this video. I tend to play this matchup in a pretty unique way, so I'm going to explain it now. Starting off with my runes, you can see the fact that I don't go Conqueror into Tryndamere. Conqueror is fine, I just prefer Phase Rush over it, due to how I actually play out the laning phase. Phase Rush also scales better than Conqueror later on, because it makes you much more mobile. What Tryndamere wants to do is spin onto you and slow you down with his W and then kill you. He will constantly auto-attack you down the moment that slow hits you, so by going Phase Rush you can tank through the entire slow essentially. You don't want to just let him freely auto attack you because that is really bad for you. He will stack his passive up in his lethal tempo, and then at full fury without any additional crit he will have a 50% chance of critting you. What I like to do is that whenever he jumps on me, I tag him with my W and walk away. That is all you need to do. The moment he spins onto you, press W and start walking away. You can also do W plus Q if you wish, but most of the time I just do W and start walking away. And then he won't be able to chase you down unless he slows you down with his W. And then you can use your Q into an auto attack and activate your phase rush and sprint away. I also really like Cosmic Insight into Tryndamere, and that is because it makes it to where your flash and ghost will always be lower than his flash and ghost. So the moment Tryndamere ghosts into you, you can do the same and you will trade cooldowns, except yours will always come back up sooner. Same with flash, if you both flash at the same time, yours will always be up sooner. I also like to take magical footwear because I actually don't rush my boots here. Instead, I look for Warden's Mail rush. It feels really good into him. And after Warden's Mail, you can buy something like an Executioner's Calling to cut out his healing, especially because most Tryndamere players will rush that Ravenous Hydra. So you can cut both his Q healing and the Ravenous Hydra healing once he acquires it. Try to use the phase rush speed to space him out and kite him, and then you can re-engage with it as well. He will have higher attack speed than you, especially if he actually stacks up his lethal tempo. Once you get Stridebreaker, the lane becomes super omega easy most of the time, especially with Phase Rush, because you can walk up to him, do an auto WQ, and then if he spins away and dodges your Q, you can activate your Stridebreaker on him, which will activate your Phase Rush, and then you can keep chasing him down. And that should net you a pretty favorable trade. Do not be afraid to trade ults with him. His champion is entirely ultimate dependent. He needs that ultimate to make sure that he wins the 1v1. So even if your ultimate won't kill him because he will use his own ulti, just ult it and force it out of him. And then you're good to go in the 1v1. After Stridebreaker, you can go for Randuin's Omen, and that will destroy his auto attack damage because of the 30% crit damage reduction. But if you want to be more aggressive and you gained an early lead, you can go Spear of Shojin. And if you go Shojin, every single time you hit 5 stacks, you can instantly ult him. And that will force out his ult. If he doesn't ult, then he dies. And never teamfight into him unless you actually pushed out the side waves, because if you don't push them out, he's gonna sit on side lane and perma take your turrets.
An enemy has been slain.
Now that I have the combo of Executioner's Calling and Warden's Mail, I can fight him even more. It is a really good spike in your item components. You can just wait for the full Stridebreaker if you want to, but at this point you can fight him the moment you have Wardens and Executioners, in my opinion.
Shut down. Victory!
Normally, I go for a different secondary here in my runes with Resolve, where I take Second Wind and Overgrowth. And then I don't even take Triumph, I take Absorb Life. And even my itemization is slightly different to what I go here. And that is because usually what I want to do is Pharma sit on side lane and pressure the Kennen out, and force him to answer me. On top of the fact that Second Wind actually allows you to sustain even further. But instead I went for Sorcery secondary, which is a setup that you can take as well if you want to. Instead of Axiom Arcanist, you can even take Nimbus Cloak if you wish into Kennen. I think this lane is actually doable for Darius, especially with Fleet Footwork. Compared to something like Phase Rush, where you actually need to get close to the Kennen to proc it, Fleet Footwork allows you to auto-attack a minion and gain that bit of move speed, and then you can get in range to pull him more reliably, or force his E out when he sees you walking at him with greater speed from the Fleet proc. There's also the healing component of Fleet Footwork. It is not a lot, but if you proc it a few times it adds up, especially if you also take Absorb Life and Second Wind. You will have a lot of extra healing in your runes. Mercury Treads are also phenomenal into Kennen. Reducing his stun is amazing here, on top of the move speed that Mercs give you. The only issue is that you can't always buy Mercs. In this game, I kinda brute forced them, but they didn't have that much CC. I could have gone for something like Boots of Swiftness or Plated Steel Caps, but I really wanted Mercury Treads for Kennen specifically. Never underestimate his burst. He can unironically 100 to 0 you almost if he has Ignite. There's also the fact that if you see a Kennen running Phase Rush, he's basically never going to be in threat range of you. Because the moment you pull him, he procs that Phase Rush onto you and sprints away. He will insta-stun you and then the speed is too much for you to catch up to him. Even if you tag him with your W, Phase Rush gives him slow resist, so he can walk away from it mostly. And if he also rushes Boots of Swiftness, yeah, you're never catching up to him, so don't even bother. What I like to do is go for Stridebreaker, and then I can go for a Kayle Rookern, and then afterwards I can go for Hullbreaker. And with this 3 core, I can actually side lane into him well. The only way he can reliably clear a full minion wave the moment you get Hullbreaker on a cannon wave is to ulti the wave. If he doesn't, he can't clear it. But if you have Kayle Rookern, even if he full combos you, he will barely dent the Kayle shield. So he might be able to instantly clear the cannon wave with his ultimate, but that doesn't really matter to you because next wave you won't have ulti, and you won't take that much damage because of your Kayle Rookern. And Hullbreaker allows you to split push really well. You generally do not want to teamfight into Kennen. He is a massive threat, unless you're super Omega fed, or if if you have a different game plan. For example, with Sorcery Secondary, maybe I don't go for Kayle Rukern as my second item, and then no Hullbreaker as my third. Maybe I go for Spear of Shojin second into Stridebreaker, and that gives me better team fighting. I can still side lane into him, but my team fighting will be better. There's also the fact that if you do Spear of Shojin second, you can essentially 100 to 0 Kennen under the turret if you get a full combo on him. The raw damage is nuts here. You can look for early game kills, especially if he doesn't have phase rush, if you manage to pull him in and W him just before he stuns you, because that slow that your W places on him will stick quite well onto him. Just be mindful of his E speed and make sure you space him rather well and don't get free poke.
Your turret has been destroyed. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Must become witness of the past.
Double kill.
The winds of fate will
Here I want to go for Spirit Visage, and I'm going to explain why. Normally I don't go for Visage on Darius because I think there's better magic resist items for him. Sure, the heal amp is nice for your Q, but that's not enough most of the time. However, there's also a shield amp component to it. So by purchasing Spirit Visage, I'm going to increase my Sterak's shield and Q healing, and I also want to go for Death's Dance after Visage, so I'm going to increase that healing as well, on top of my Fleet Footwork healing, and I will also increase all the shields that Karma places on me. So I think Visage will give me more value here over the Rukern, but honestly the Rukern is still a phenomenal item.
An enemy has been slain. An enemy.
I'll give it back. Promise.
Killing spree. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. An enemy, a summoner has disconnected. Enemy ran.
Shouts will yield to me.
This is genuinely one of my most hated matchups to play as Darius. It is not as difficult as something like a Jace, but I hate laning Kayle so much, because you need to permanently pressure her and make sure that she does not scale. The moment you lift your foot off of her neck and give her just a bit of space, she can win this lane. If she gets to level 6 with Boots of Swiftness safely, and spaces you correctly, you're basically never going to be able to kill her unless you play in a very specific way, in my opinion. I am now going to explain my rune setup because, as you can see, it is not a standard Conqueror page. I actually like to go phase rush into Kayle, and this is because if you actually manage to tag Kayle with a Stride Breaker and a W, you can then follow up with a Q, and that phase rush speed will allow you to stick to her, which means that you won't need to use your E when she slows you down with her Q, which allows you to save your E for her ultimate. The main issue is that whenever you use your E to engage the fight, Kayle can easily ult your ult, and then you almost always lose it. But if you have the ability to save your E and do the combo of E plus ult, you won't be able to. You can also try to use your ultimate when she doesn't have 5 stacks on her, let's say she has 3 or 4. And then she might not expect it and she won't ult your ult, but it is not a guarantee. Inspiration secondary is vital here. I love both Cosmic Insight and Cashback, and I'm going to explain both of them. Cosmic Insight allows you to trade summoner spell cooldowns with her and yours will always come back up sooner. For example, if the Kayle is running Flash Ghost, you can flash right on top of her, and then she's going to be forced to flash away. But your flash will always be up sooner. Same with Ghost. Most of the time, Kayle will run Flash TP, but if she wants to be extra safe into you, she will run Flash Ghost. So when you press Ghost, she can do the same, except yours will be up sooner. And you can abuse that window and make it to where you can actually kill her because her summoner spell won't be up. This is also why I like to go Ionian Boots into Kayle. Ionian Boots give you summoner spell haste, so your Ghost and Flash will basically always be up a minute sooner than hers, which gives you a kill window by being able to flash right on top of her or Ghost at her when she doesn't have her Ghost. And Cashback is especially good if you just both farm up. It is also quite difficult to catch up to her because of her W speed, but if she just spams W, she will eventually run out of mana, and you can abuse that. So by going Cashback, even if you are both equal gold, you will gain an advantage, because anytime you complete a legendary item, you'll get some extra gold. This is also why I like to go Cole into Kayle. And in the mid game, Cashback combined with Cole can give you around 700 extra gold. Your ultimate is also lower than hers by default. So in the early game, if you both trade ults around the same time, yours will always be up sooner. What I generally like to do is proxy into her until I get my Ionian Boots. And then when I have the 900 gold, I can recall and I won't miss anything because I took a proxy. But you can also look for an early recall to get your call and stack it up sooner. Both work fine. In this case, I decided to stay all the way until my Ionian Boots. It goes without saying that her late game is disgustingly strong. Try not to let her get there. Kayle Rookern's secondary actually feels amazing into Kayle. She won't actually be able to dent your health until that full Kayle shield is down, which can allow you to buy Hullbreaker 3rd, and then you can just auto attack down the turret with the Hullbreaker effect and eventually crack down the tower. And it is better for you to side lane than teamfight into her most of the time, especially because she can ult whoever you try to get a reset on. she is now finally out of mana, which means that the only thing she can do right now is just press E on me. She needs 100 mana to actually use her ultimate. I would have actually engaged harder on her here, but I thought Kha'Zix was nearby. Instead, she actually goes for a straight up dive, but I live it. Even if I don't die, it's not that bad for me, because she burned her ultimate, and that means I can potentially dive her by myself next time.
Turret plating will soon fall. Has been slain. Enemy double kill. An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Thank you guys for joining me in this video. I hope you found the information useful, and I will see you in the next video, hopefully very soon.
Night is falling on the old world. You won't live to see the new one.